Thanks, Matt. Who was expecting somebody bigger? Yeah, I went to a job interview once and it had on my CV that I was an Australian powerlifting champion, and the first thing they said as I walked in the door was, "We were expecting somebody bigger." And over the years, so many people have said to me, "How can you lift so much weight?" When I started, if someone had said to me, "In 3 years you're going to be the #1 ranked junior lifter in the country, and one day you're going to deadlift 255 kilos, I would have laughed and went, "Yeah, right, there's no way I'm going to do that." But the one thing that my journey in powerlifting taught me was that it's amazing what people can do with consistent action repeated over time. So this is a picture of me before I started powerlifting. I didn't have any superhuman powers or any great strength. I was just a skinny student. I weighed about 56 kilos. But there's a story behind this photograph. Has anybody ever put extra special effort into doing something just because somebody said to you, "You can't do that"? Yes, well, one day in grade 10, a teacher in my class said, "Boys can't achieve at this school." And I thought, that's kind of strange. And then at the end of the year, at the awards ceremony, I noticed that the dux of every single year level was a girl. And then the next year, I noticed the exact same thing, and I thought, well, maybe she has a point, but I want to prove her wrong. And that trophy that I'm holding is the dux of year 12. Guess this is a video of my last powerlifting competition. It's the national titles in 2010. I weighed in at 67.3 kilograms. This is the squat, 225 kilos. Notice the focus and the 5 guys. This is the bench press, 145 kilos. Again, notice the focus and control. Okay, and this is the deadlift. This is my favourite lift, 255 kilograms. Okay, so this transformation didn't just happen overnight. It didn't take 10 days or 10 weeks. It was 10 years of some pretty serious training. But it all had to start somewhere. Now, I want you all to imagine for a moment that you're crouched down in that start position that sprinters take. How long do you think you could stay in that position before it got really, really uncomfortable? But sometimes in life, a lot of us, we kind of crouch down, afraid to do anything new, afraid to take on new challenges because we might fail, for heaven forbid. When it's just so much easier just to stand up and start moving, even if it's just a walk to start with. And when I started powerlifting, I didn't have any grand ambitions to be an Australian champion or anything. I just volunteered for a strength training program that one of the guys at university he was running. He was doing his master's degree in strength training, and he wanted some guinea pigs for a 12-week program. And I thought, I'm a skinny student, free use of the gym, expert coaching, I'm in, let's do it. And at the end of that 12 weeks of training, the coach said to me, "Look, you've done really, really well. We've got a competition coming up. It's in 2 weeks. You should go in it." And I laughed and went, "Yeah, right, me?" He said, no, it's all in weight divisions. And he said, "Go and have a look at the results from the year before." And I did. I nearly fell over. I went, no, there's no way I'm competing against him. But luckily my coach said, "Look, forget about him. It's not important. Just try and do a little bit more than you did 2 weeks ago." And I'm so glad that he encouraged me to do that, because that started my journey in lifting. And so often we look at someone in life who we think is really successful and we think, well, I couldn't do that. But it's amazing what you can achieve if you just start. When I first came into this environment here and I heard the personal trainers talking about this 10-minute exercise program, I thought, 10 minutes, what's that going to do? That's nothing. I used to spend 2 hours in the gym. Then I thought, well, hold on a minute. I spent 2 hours in the gym, but I spent a lot of that time on my butt recovering. And then one of the personal trainers got us to jump up and down for 30 seconds and rest, and jump up and down for 30 seconds, and I was huffing and puffing and went, okay, maybe there's something to this. So the next day I thought, well, okay, I'll start. did a 10-minute exercise program, and I felt great. So I just kept going. So if you haven't started yet, it might be a good idea to start. And you might be surprised at how great you feel even after only a couple of weeks. Well, this has been mentioned a couple of times already today, but for me, the most important key was finding out my why. What was important to me? What was I really passionate about? Because if I didn't have that, I like sleeping, so I was just going to stay in bed and not go to the gym. I'm not sure what your reason why is. There was a few examples passed around earlier today. I realised that my why wasn't always as obvious as I would have thought. I didn't spend 10 years in training, putting up with some rather intense pain at times, just because I thought, it'd be kind of cool if I could lift 200 kilos off the ground. It wasn't the medals, it wasn't the trophies, it wasn't the record certificates. You know what it was? I was chasing a feeling. Ever since I was quite young, there was this burning desire inside of me that I wanted to do something that was significant, something of contribution, something of value, something I'd be remembered for, to make having a life worth actually living. And there was a point where I thought, maybe powerlifting wasn't really the best choice. But I've since noticed that the lessons that I learnt in powerlifting were incredibly valuable, and they're serving me very well in my journey through life at the moment. But when I was lifting, and after a while started to have some really good improvements, and I saw there was a chance that I could break a national record, and that triggered something deep inside of me. It was like, break a record, name etched in history. It was done. That triggered something, and that was what drove me to put up with all the effort at the gym and all the training and the pain. So what's driving you? So Gandhi says that our life is our message, and we're all doing something with our life right now. And what message is that giving? And is that message a true reflection of what's really important to you? I really encourage you all to take the time to sit down and think about what's really important. What do you value in life? And what can you do with your life? Who's heard of the importance of the people we associate with? I was really lucky to have a really, really good coach, and he ended up becoming the Brisbane Broncos strength coach. He's been with them for about 17 years now. So he really knows his stuff. So who thinks I got my coach to show me a few lifts and then said, no worries, I've got it from here, see you later? No. Even after I became a much more successful lifter than my coach ever was, his knowledge, his insight, his experience, his motivation, it was so valuable to me, and I couldn't have been as successful as I was without that. And the other valuable thing was where I trained. It was the University Powerlifting Club. It was an amazing team of guys that we all trained together and supported each other and helped us all do a lot better than we could have on our own. And when I retired from powerlifting, I'd moved away from the university, and when I came back, there was a number of gyms that I could have gone to that were a lot closer. But I went all the way back to the university club simply because of the people that were there. And by that time, it had become a mecca for the best lifters in Queensland. And I thought, if I want to do really well, then that's the environment that I want to be in. And that's what I really love about this environment here. We've got some really great experts giving wonderful knowledge and sharing their time, and they've created such a great community. And I want to thank everybody that comes here and donates their time and has made the effort to create this community. I'm very thankful for it. Who's heard what gets measured improves? And so the first thing my coach did when we started the training program was measure what I could squat, what I could bench press, and what I could deadlift. And from there, we were able to set goals and work out exactly what the training program was going to be. And then every day in the gym, we would write down and measure exactly what I lifted and record it. And then every competition was just like measuring how far I'd gone and what I'd achieved. And the other essential key for me was setting really strong goals. In life, when I don't have goals, and even with training when I didn't have goals, my training was very inconsistent, bordering on non-existent. But when I did have really strong goals, that kept me focused and committed. And when I didn't have goals, any excuse would really do and I wouldn't go to the gym. But when I did have a strong goal, no excuse was really valid. I remember one day, it was about 3 weeks out from the national championships, I somehow managed to crack a rib doing deadlifts. But I couldn't stop training, So I just had to make some adjustments, wear a different belt that wasn't so hard and didn't cause so much pain, and just keep going through it because I had that strong goal. I wanted to be at the national championships and I wanted to break 2 national records. But we don't always have to have such large goals. And when I started, if my coach had sat down and said, okay, in 10 years you're going to deadlift 255 kilos, I would have thought, that's just way too far out there. We'd just break it down into little 3-month goals for every competition. And it would be, when I started, it was simply, well, I want to lift 5 kilos more than I did at the last comp, and then another 5 kilos at the next comp. And eventually it got to, okay, well, now I can break a national record, or now I can win a national title. So just start with simple goals. If you haven't started an exercise program yet, then maybe your goal might be just to start. If you haven't figured out what your why is, maybe your goal might be to find your why. And then once you've got that, you can keep setting bigger and bigger goals. Okay, now the next step that we used to do was write down our plan of action, because we had to break that goal down into something measurable that we could do every single day. So this is the training program from my last competition. And the first thing we would do was write down the goal for what I was going to lift. It's the yellow highlighted bits there. So who's heard that? I think you've heard already today, the importance of writing down your goals. And there's other times in my life I've written down goals and put them on my bedside table and looked at them a couple of times and then forgotten about them. But this was written on my training program, so every day I went into the gym, I was looking at the goal. And every single set that I was doing, every single day, they were my little goals that were written down. If it wasn't for having those little goals, that if I hit every single one of those in the gym, then I knew I was on track. And of course, the last step is action. It's what we do that matters. I didn't go off and study the world's best lifters for 10 years and then come back and think, okay, I think I know how to do this now. I'm going to deadlift 250 kilograms. That would be crazy, right? But for some reason in other areas of my life, I kind of had that approach and it didn't work. So it didn't really matter what my goal was or how fantastic my plan or organised my plan was. If I didn't go to the gym and do that training every single time, there's no way I was going to hit the targets. Now, life is a journey, and sometimes we think, one day when I get there or I get this or I have that, then I'll be successful. But I'd like to leave you today with the thought that we can consider ourselves successful every single day, just for doing those daily actions that edge us forward and move us closer towards whatever it is that we want to do with our life. Thank you.